up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Trust Your Board podcast. My name is Stephen Wright, joined by Mr. William Monroe. Will, how you doing?
Steve, I am doing well. We have reached the first week of preseason football. We actually have a game this Thursday. Can you believe it?
Yeah, it always comes up quick, you know. Yeah, marks the beginning of some great things. So yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah, we got that coming up. I mentioned that I just picked the draft order for my my home league, my oldest league here, going on year 17, I want to say. So a few years in here, and we got the draft order selected here, which is going to be the format we're going to use for today's draft.
Yeah, do you want to explain all of that? Because our roster construction is a little bit different. To start, it's a 10-team league, so it's also a little bit smaller than our normal 12s that we do. But what's going on with roster construction here?
Yeah, so it's half PPR, so pretty standard there. One quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers, a tight end, two full flexes, so not super flex, but anything but a QB. And then we have 7 bench spots. We're going to omit the kicker and defense here that normally would be part of this league, so it will be a 16-round draft.
Wow, yeah, so we could start 5 wide receivers if we wanted to.
Yep, 5 wide receivers,
wow.
4 running backs.
Yeah, that's interesting. So
Gets a little spicy.
You are playing the role of you in the 8th. I am reprising my role as your dad in the 4th spot.
Yep.
If memory serves, I believe he kind of follows our normal strategy, right? Of like mid-round quarterback, and he bounces around on tight end. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, like if the opportunity's there, but yeah, he's pretty in line with what we do. But yeah, usually mid to late quarterback, and then maybe not too late, and then depending on if the tight end opportunity's there, and then just looking at those 2 key positions that we always focus on.
Is he pretty balanced? Because I'm staring down the fact that, we could start 5 wide receivers or 4 running backs, and part of me wants to do something stupid. Is that something that he could possibly do, or is he usually, and I think this is the case, usually pretty balanced between wide receiver and running back?
Yeah, I think he stays balanced. I mean, maybe at times leans a little more running back because of the scarcity, but I think, whatever you do, if you decide to lean one way, it'll give him a forecast as to what he would do here, since he probably will be listening to this and listening intently at each of your words here.
I hope so. But yeah, with all that said and everything spelled out here, are you ready to get started?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see what falls there to the 4th spot here for you, but we'll start the draft off here. Jonathan Taylor goes 1, Derrick Henry goes 2, Austin Eckler 3.
I mean, this is pretty easy.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are scared of McCaffrey. They've been burned 2 years in a row, and I totally get that. But his upside is just immense.
Yeah, I don't imagine he gets there based on just the people ahead there, but maybe someone does get scared off, and Henry goes earlier, Eckler goes earlier.
Yeah, he's actually rising for me a little bit, because I've worked myself into this state of being worried about Eckler, and he can't repeat the touchdowns that he did. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I could justify him as high anymore. And then Henry, I've always been kind of worried about, given he's getting a little bit older, the offense has changed, he's coming off the injury. I'm sure he'll be fine, but there's some concern there. So McCaffrey's become even more important to me, which is funny because I just blasted Henry for an injury, and McCaffrey's like the king of injuries right now. But he's McCaffrey's even more important for me. So he's an easy pick. Now I'll ask, is it something like, would your dad be scared off from McCaffrey from the injury history? Because I can pivot if you think that he wouldn't want McCaffrey here.
No, I think he probably would go McCaffrey. I'm going to imagine Jonathan Taylor, McCaffrey go 1, 2, just based on the guys there, and then we'll see about 3, maybe Henry, maybe receiver, could be Eckler. And then, I'd imagine one of the other ones go here. So I'd imagine the top 4 are going to be probably the same. Maybe you mix in a wide receiver, or maybe you mix in a Dalvin Cook. But I think if McCaffrey's there, that would probably be the pick.
Okay. easy enough. Yeah, it's only really the first pick of the draft is probably the only one you can ask that question for as far as what he would do.
Yeah.
But we'll get it out of the way. McCaffrey's
Yeah.
been locked in. We have Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp going after that, and then Dalvin Cook with the 107. You're on the clock.
Yeah. And it kind of brings me to where I've been trying to figure out. I think those 7 guys and makes sense. And comes down here to Jamar Chase or Joe Mixon for me. I do like Najee, but we do have him a couple places already. And I just like the offense for Cincinnati a little bit more. Been not the best reports out of camp early on still, but for Pickett. So I think there's still a decent chance that we could have Mitch starting the year, and maybe that's better for Harris. But I just am more leaning with a Jamar with Joe Mixon if I'm going running back there. And looks like actually had some injury news just as of 2 hours ago. Najee Harris exit with possible foot injury, so we'll have to stay abreast on that. But that seems to be an injury news here so far early in the year.
I wonder if that's why Sleeper has a questionable designation next to his name now.
Yes, that would make sense. But yeah, this comes down to Jamar Chase or Joe Mixon for me, and I kind of play that game that if I went one, would I be okay with the other? So like looking at a Jamar Chase and a Swift or Chubb, or going with a Mixon and maybe like a Diggs or a Lamb. And I think I lean the Chase side here. I usually don't like to go. I usually like to go running back in the first round, but being this late in the first round, still having another top 13 pick, I should be able to get another valuable running back, or can pivot and look into doing, a modified 0 RB strategy. So with this being a mock draft, I will pivot and go with the receiver here in Jamar Chase. I think it's right around where he's been drafted, and see what happens when it gets back to me here. But I think he's just him, Jefferson, and Cooper Kupp are just locked in. You know what you're getting out of them. They're going to be stalwart wide receiver ones, all with, I think assumption for a top 5 season. And I'll have the opportunity to hit that number 1 season. So going to lock in Jamar Chase first here. After him, Najee Harris goes, Travis Kelce, Stephon Diggs, and then Joe Mixon off the board. So it puts me in an interesting spot. I thought Diggs would probably be the one that would fall there, but still have Devontae Adams available. Very interesting. I love Swift. I've taken him in a lot of mocks around here. So this is probably going to be, my decisions coming draft day. I'm imagining it's going to be Jamar Chase or Joe Mixon in the first round, and then some combination of Diggs, Adams, and Swift here in the second round. I usually try to stay pretty balanced. So Swift, probably would be the pick, but I kind of want to see what happens, going with the 0 RB, at least to start here, going back-to-back receiver. Won't call it a true 0 RB just yet, but going with the back-to-back receiver, especially because we mentioned we have 3 receivers that you have to start, up to 5 that you can start. So we're going to see what happens, pairing up a Devontae Adams and Jamar Chase. It's not something that you get too often, and when you're getting multiple top 5 receivers, at least in the projections here, it's a good way to start the team. Anything you are anticipating coming back?
Not really. I'd really like Swift to get back to me. Maybe a Chubb, but yeah, we'll see. That's asking for a lot. So
all right, so locking in Adams here. Next goes Tyreek Hill. We have DeAndre Swift and Alvin Kamara. So the Kamara pick, I'm sure, will be variable as we get more information on the suspension. But as of right now, I guess we're drafting like he has no suspension, and he goes here at 2-6 to you.
Yeah, and Tyreek jumped a bit over sleeper ADP. Maybe that's the 3 wide receiver kind of playing a role there. But I think that's awesome. So, we got Nick Chubb here, just ground and pound guy, not going to catch a ton of balls because Kareem Hunt's there, but they'll be relying on him a lot in the beginning of the year. And then, ideally the end of the year, having Watson back, maybe that opens some things up for him. And just helps him out even more. I'm sure the volume's going to go down, but hopefully that, when the volume comes down, when Watson comes back, the quality of the runs goes up. So Nick Chubb here, I am staring down Aaron Jones as well. He's a little bit further down the ADP. I really like Aaron Jones this year, just given the situation in Green Bay. Eh, yeah, that's tough, man. Now that that I'm talking
Now
through
that
it,
you're
man.
talking through it,
Yeah,
yeah.
I see Nick Chubb and I see the name, and it's like, oh yeah, awesome runner. But man, like, give me 6 weeks of that offense not being great, and then Watts is going to come back. He hasn't played football in a year and a half. It's not like he's going to come back and suddenly they're going to be great. I would assume. Um, yeah, and half point PPR, that helps Aaron Jones a bit. He's good at catching the ball. A lot of people like him because of that whole stat going around about, when a big target leaves, it's usually the running back that soaks up the targets. Not all the time, a lot of the time. So yeah, I think I'm going to pivot. I'm going to go with Aaron Jones. I'm grabbing him a lot, and I'm happy to grab him like earlier in the second. Like I definitely grab him before Kamara. I don't think I'd grab him before anyone else that's been drafted. Like I'd rather have Swift and Mixon, Najee, Cook, Eckler. Eckler's tough, which is crazy considering he's like a top 4 guy.
Yeah.
But there's, what do you have? Like 20 touchdowns. You cut that in half, and he is not where he was last year. And Aaron Jones, because he could easily outdo him. So man, that sounds scary fading
Yeah, he
Eckler
was
that
number
hard.
2 in standard and number 2 in PPR. Usually with him, you expect to see a pretty big difference. But yeah, 8 receiving touchdowns, 12 rushing touchdowns. The 12 rushing touchdowns are more than his career rushing touchdowns
Yeah, see,
of 9
that's a
leading into that
problem.
year.
That's a
Yeah.
big problem. So it feels scary fading Eckler that hard. And it's a shame because I really like him, but I
Mm.
think that's where I'm at. But anyway,
Yeah, I mean, 12 touchdowns I think is reasonable, combining those together. I mean, the year before he only had 3, but I think, you could push 12, 10 total, but yeah, 20, you're drafting at the ceiling there when you're taking him that top 4.
so do you have up right now the list of like running back finishes for last year? And like
I
their
was just
points or no?
looking at Eckler's running back finish.
Oh,
I can
gotcha.
see
Okay.
if I can get the total.
Because I'm curious now. If you were to knock out his touchdowns and take out, like, say you take out 8 touchdowns, which would be
Yeah.
8 times 6 would be 48.
48.50 points. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you take
I
out,
mean,
you go round it to 50, just make it like an easy number. Where would he end up finishing?
yeah. I mean, that puts him down to 220 standard points and it's like about 290 PPR points. I don't have the total list up here, but yeah, you're looking at 220 and 290.
I'm going to look it up right now. We're in half point PPR. I'm going to do weeks 1 through 16. I'm not counting 17 because I don't care about, 17. There's 17 weeks in the season now, right?
17 now, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't care about week
1
17.
through 17.
Yeah.
We don't care about week 18.
Yeah, correct. So I want 17. Let's get that in there. So we're going to take 50 points out of him. So he had in half point, according to Fantasy Pros, 282. You take 50 out of that, you have 232, which would be still 5th. This is a pretty hard drop off.
Okay.
So he still would be 5th. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, full PPR here, they had him at 340, and then you take 50, 48 points there. You're looking at right around 290.
Yeah, let me see. I'll switch to full here. Yeah, you knock 50 off. Yeah, he's still looking at 5th. So yeah, I mean, maybe it is still feasible that he's still a top guy. Maybe I'm fading him too hard. Side discussion. Anyway, I'm drafting Aaron. Let's
Lock it in.
Yeah, he's in. So Josh Allen goes off the board after that. CeeDee Lamb, Mark Andrews at the 210. I was kind of hoping he slipped back. Nick Chubb, 301, Fournette, and Barkley. So I am back on the clock. Top running backs here. We got Javonte, Zeke, James Conner, Cam Akers, David Montgomery, Brees Hall. At wide receiver, Debo, new contract. Apparently no problems with him paying running back, which is
I saw that they have incentives in there too for running back. I think carries and touchdowns. So I guess it makes sense that it's not like, oh, all my incentives are receiver based and you're running me a lot. He's got some incentives in there as well.
Yeah, so that's a way of paying him as a hybrid kind of player, I guess. So yeah, that works. Mike Evans, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen, T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson. In Debo, I have more confidence with the contract, but I still am just not interested in him this year. I don't see the repeat happening. That offense has changed a lot, and it's just, if he was down, maybe the fourth round, I'd take the shot, but I'm not really interested in the third. I do want a wide receiver though, since it's at least three. And Mike Evans is the top of my board here. I'm not too worried about Julio. I am kind of concerned about the Godwin news. He's looking healthier than we thought so far. Um, but still, Mike Evans is going to get his. It might just not be nuclear hot, in a Mike Evans only world. But he's still going to be very good. So I'm comfortable with him as my one. I'll go ahead and lock him in here, get my first wide receiver going. Javonte Williams goes right after that, Kyle Pitts, and then Debo, 307. You're up.
All right, so it gets back to me here. The top guys I'm looking at are Ezekiel Elliott and Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen's probably just too much of a luxury pick here, given that I've got two receivers and need to get at least two running backs started. And I think there is a decent drop off after Zeke. I know people have been fading him. I think we've been a little higher on him collectively. And I think he still has that upside to be, at least a wide receiver one. That'd be impressive. Running back run. He was running back 6 in standard, running back 7 in PPR. So last year, even though people were doubting him, he still looked good. And I imagine you're still going to be able to get, even if it's back end running back 1, but he's got the upside to be the overall one with the offense and just with the lack of weapons there. So Zeke's going to be the pick here. And then, looking at maybe a Keenan Allen if he slips down, or maybe if I want to play it safe, looking at David Montgomery. I also could look at George Kittle, who I think I'm rising on a little bit more. I was looking at some stats that he actually had his career better on non-Garoppolo games than Garoppolo games. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see it recently, but I did know it was a thing. Now, part of that is because Debo was hurt a lot, and there was also no Ayuk for a chunk of that. But yeah, when we had CJ Beathard and Nate Mullins, there was a lot of just garbage time throwing the ball everywhere. And they would force feed Kittle because he was it. Like Kendrick Bourne was a top option for the 49ers back then. So I think the offense is different, although, and it's funny because when we got to my pick, I was going to talk Kittle if he was here. Reports out of camp have been bad for Trey Lance. But there has been a lot of talk of him like forcing the ball to Kittle. And I don't know if like just a lot of the bad plays are happening when he's doing that, or if there's a targeted effort, like Kittle is his guy and he's trying to feed him a lot. If that's the case, that's good news for Kittle. So take that as you will.
Yeah. And, that could be something too. Like if I really wanted to go that 0 RB, Keenan Allen here, Kittle next round, load up. But I don't think I can pass on Zeke here. So we'll lock in Zeke with the first pick. After him, A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, Keenan Allen, Pat Mahomes, and no running backs go, interestingly. Maybe Zeke was the only one that was there. But you had James Conner, Cam Akers, you have David Montgomery, Breece Hall, all interesting options here. George Kittle, as I mentioned, Deontay Johnson. None of the wide receivers, Johnson, McLaurin, Pittman, Waddle, really do it for me this round. I mean, maybe Pittman if I was forced to pick a wide receiver. So for me, it will be either Kittle or a running back. Especially since I've already got Devontae Adams, it just wouldn't make sense to go with the Waller on that side of the debate. Running back, it comes down to Connor or Montgomery. Part of me wants to take the shot on Hall, but I think getting more of a sure thing, with the running back position, just with the pure upside I have at the receiver with Chase and Adams, makes more sense here. And that's why I'm going to lock in David Montgomery. It's kind of tried and true. Projected points lower than Akers and James Conner, but I'm not super high on Connor, and I think Akers will probably be the lead guy, but I do believe there will be a little bit of a committee there in LA. So I'm going to go with David Montgomery, lock in that second running back here, keep some flexibility for the rest of the draft. Anything you're looking at here coming back to you?
I'm actually quite indecisive. I'm staring down James Conner, Brees Hall as interesting options. Part of me really wants to draft Justin Herbert. I don't know why. It's just an interesting kind of feeling. I don't think I'd do it because I don't think your dad would do it. And then Kittle's there. So I got a feeling what's going to happen is James Conner's going to go, and then I'll go with Kittle because I can't. It's hard for me to take the shot on Hall when I have McCaffrey, and I could end up in a situation where McCaffrey is indeed hurt, and then Hall, is splitting time for a long time, and I'm just doomed or something like that. So Kittle would be the goal, I think.
All right, let's see what happens. Montgomery locked in. Connor goes. Herbert and Brees Hall.
All the temptation is gone.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Easy on you.
Wow. Yeah. Travis Etienne's here. That is interesting as well. Falls a little bit more in that Hall category, but I'm not sure what the competition's going to be for him. I really don't think James Robinson's going to be, even if he starts at the beginning of the year, that effective. But either way, I said Kittle. I kind of made my case for him. It seems like he's getting force fed, so we will go ahead and just lock him in. Make that simple. The next pick is the one I think is more interesting. Deontay Johnson goes, Jalen Waddle, and then at the turn is Gibson and Akers with the 502, fifth round now. Michael Pittman goes, and then Waller. So don't need to worry about tight end. We'll start reading off some positions here. Quarterback, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Russ Wilson. At running back, we got Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs, J.K. Dobbins, Elijah Mitchell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, A.J. Dillon. At wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Amari Cooper. We do not care about tight end right now. Right now, the pick is easy for me. I'm looking at the running backs, quite happy with the options on the board. Like, I'm fine taking a shot on Etienne, Josh Jacobs, not Dobbins. Elijah Mitchell's cool. CH is fine. Not interested in Dillon because I have Aaron Jones, Damon Harris, Miles Sanders, all fine options. I'm going to grab the wide receiver I want, which is Mike Williams, because I know he's not getting through 2 picks from Will Monroe. So we're just going to lock him in there. You can deal with Terry McLaurin in that group. So Mike Williams is going to be my guy. That gives me 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, striking that balance that I am thinking your dad's going to do here. Travis Etienne goes. That team, Etienne, Bryce Hall, Javonte Williams, man, they're stacked with some upside at the running back position.
Huh? And Alvin Kamara, too. It's
Kamara.
all back end.
Yeah.
Hoping Justin Jefferson leads him to the promised land.
Yeah, very interesting. 2 more of these running back or wide receivers go, Metcalf and McLaurin. So you are back on the clock.
Yeah, it makes it easy for me here. DJ Moore was the one I was hoping snuck through, and it works. Both of the Denver receivers make sense as well. Hollywood Brown a little bit further down, and Elijah Mitchell interesting as well. But when I was looking at that last turn, the Zeke and Montgomery, I looked down to what I imagined was going to be available here, and running back did not look great. I mean, Jacobs is not bad, but I'd rather space that out with Devontae Adams already. Little iffy on J.K. Dobbins. I mean, he totally could bounce back, but I didn't want him to be, my RB2 or even 1. Elijah Mitchell. So I think it comes down to, for me, especially in this format here, looking to try to get at least 2 running backs in the first 2 rounds. You could get later guys take shots, but running backs just go early and often. So where the ADP ends up, you're more likely to get better value here at the wide receiver position. So we'll lock in DJ Moore.
Would you have taken Mike Williams over DJ Moore?
That's tough. Maybe. I probably would have thought there's a chance he gets through over DJ Moore, but I don't know. That's a good question. I probably still would have gone DJ Moore here, but I mean the upside makes sense because he would be my wide receiver 3. So I think that would have been a tough one.
Yeah, that's fair. Cool.
Gets back to me here after that. Jerry Jeudy goes, J.K. Dobbins, Lamar Jackson, and Cortland Sutton. So both of the Denver guys go. I was hoping one would sneak through, but they both don't. Now, I don't imagine they both go to the same team there, like happened in Team 9, but there's definitely a good chance that they get split there amongst Team 9 and 10. Alas, they're both gone, so I cannot draft either of them. So we're looking at top guys available here. Quarterback, you got Burrow, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson. Tight ends, we're looking at Dalton Schultz, TJ Hawkinson, Goddard, Dawson Knox, Ertz, and it kind of just drops off a little bit after that. But right now, it looks like we have 5 tight ends off the board. There's probably two. Those top 2 make the most sense, and then Goddard, Knox, and Ertz are fine. So I think, barring it completely falling out, I can probably wait at least one, maybe the back end of that turn. So we'll be looking at running back here, given that I've got 2 running backs, 3 receivers. Looking at my 2 flex options and keeping that flexibility. So running back, the only one that really sticks out, J.K. Dobbins is not bad upside here. Elijah Mitchell as well. You got A.J. Dillon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So those would be the ones I'd be looking at here. I want to take the shot on Eli, but at this point, it's not a bad shot to get Josh Jacobs on what could be a pretty high-powered offense. Like, at what point, for you, Steve, at what point do you focus less on doubling down on a teammate of a player of yours? First round, 2, 3, 4, you want to try to space it out. At what point do you try to focus less on that? Do you have a strategy there?
No, not really. It's usually like an upside shot. So, like, I wouldn't put Keenan Allen and Mike Evans together because I think they're pretty similar. Even though, like, having them both is probably going to be fine.
Yeah, I meant more like running back receiver, or like tight end running back, tight end receiver.
So, no, I don't really have a strategy. It depends on the offense for the most part, and just how good they are. Like, I wouldn't want to do a Swift Hawkinson because Detroit's offense isn't going to be good enough to support both of those. Would I do a Kittle and an Elijah Mitchell if they get to me? Yes, I would do that because I think the San Francisco offense is fine, and I'm getting them 2 rounds apart. So, like, I have no problem there. With you, I don't have a problem with that either because Josh Jacobs is good from a volume standpoint. Should be, historically has been good from a volume standpoint, and so should Adams. So I'm happy with that. So it's situations. It's all depends on the offense to me, and my worries about them for the most part.
Yeah, and I think they're both good offenses. I do worry a little bit that we're going to have Kenyon Drake eating into that Josh Jacobs role. They definitely wanted to use him before he got hurt last year. That's, I think, the one thing that's given me a little bit of pause. I probably would have gone Jacobs over Dobbins, but Dobbins probably has more upside. It's more the injury risk there. I think I want to go someone that is going to hit a little early on in the season and hopefully can keep that going. And someone I was talking up, and it's going to be Hollywood Brown. Locking in my first flex option with a wide receiver. And given that we need to start 3, it gives me some flexibility there with that position. I'm just not thrilled on Josh Jacobs, or Eli Mitchell. I think he probably is the top guy, but I wouldn't put it past him to get that rookie out there. They just love mixing it up, and I feel like it's just a headache every year. You get excited about the top one. It was a Mostert a couple years in a row, and we'll see. Maybe they change their tune finally with Eli Mitchell, but I just don't trust it. So I'm going to go with a guy that I think is going to have a really big start to the year, and hopefully he can keep that going into the second part of the year with Hollywood Brown. So we're going to lock in Hollywood. After him, Joe Burrow, Amari Cooper, and Josh Jacobs.
Team 5 going with 5 running backs.
They can start 4.
They can start 4.
Fortunately, not 5.
Not 5. So interesting strategy there. So taking a look at our running backs, we still got Elijah Mitchell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, A.J. Dillon, Damian Harris, Miles Sanders. So a large group of people that I read off last time. At wide receiver, Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Brandon Cooks, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Adam Thielen. And at quarterback, Kyler, Jalen Hurts, Dak, Russ, Tom Brady. So a lot of solid running or quarterback options here. I am sitting with 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers. Elijah Mitchell is pretty interesting. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, also interesting. I'm looking at Miles Sanders, thinking, maybe a homer pick that I can make there. So maybe I will grab a wide receiver here and see if Miles gets back to me. I could get a homer pick. The roll of the dice is that after Sanders, I'm not in love with the running back selection. So maybe I won't do that because that's a little worrisome. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to draft Elijah Mitchell now because I think he is the best running back. I do have this kind of same worries that you spelled out, but I think they could have a rotation and he still be a top guy. So I'm hoping, but do I want to take that injury risk and tag team it with Christian McCaffrey? That's worrisome. I don't know if I want to do that. I'll do it anyway. So Elijah Mitchell is the pick. Your dad is rolling the dice a little bit here today. Allen Robinson, Kyler Murray, Amon-Ra St. Brown round out the 6th. Godwin starts the 7th. Brandon Cooks, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I will take another homer pick. Miles Sanders. Your dad's an Eagles fan.
Locks it in.
We got my
That's
Eagles.
his only homer pick so far of the draft here in your world.
Yeah, just one. That's not bad. And it gives me 4 running backs. So I got my flex spots filled with running backs, which is cool. Miles Sanders is interesting. I was higher on him earlier in the season, and now it really just kind of depends on the day. I think there's a lot of upside there if they use it properly. I just don't know if they will. The whole offense is kind of scary to me anymore. But either way, homer pick is made. Sanders is in. A.J. Dillon goes off the board. Damon Harris. Dalton Schultz, my boy. 7:07. You are on the clock.
All right. So it now comes down to, I've got 4 receivers. It could take a luxury pick on one, but there's none that really stand out. I mean, I guess Michael Thomas could be a really huge, boost if he is my wide receiver 5 that hits. But given that I don't have quarterback or tight end yet, as well as a third running back, I just don't think I've got the luxury of taking that pick. Maybe if some of the ones that I'm looking at some other positions go, he could be a pick next. But for me, looking at the tight end position with Hawkinson, I think he is kind of clear cut above the rest from an ADP standpoint. If I don't take him, I'm waiting on a Goddard or Knox, Ertz, and we have 6 of them taken now. So the teams behind me, one of them has taken a tight end, one has not. So that's really where I'm basically, do I gamble Hawkinson here? And then at the running back position, looking at Kareem Hunt and Cordell Patterson, probably the top 2 here. I mean, Kenneth Walker's interesting. I just don't know about that offense and don't know that I want to bank my third running back position on Kenneth Walker, especially if he starts out slow. Kareem Hunt is going to have a role, especially early on when I think now we know that there's only a 6-game suspension for Deshaun Watson. They're going to have to run the ball early on to try to, just maintain, aim for getting, keeping it at 500, with a Jacoby Brissett led team. So I think Kareem Hunt makes the most sense. Cordell Patterson, I think, is going to have a role there. Going to probably be the lead back. He's only a running back now for sleeper, but not a bad option. So for me, it comes down to, who can I risk here, Hawkinson or Kareem Hunt? Kareem Hunt's a little further down, but given that one team behind me only has 1 running back, another team only has 2. Imagine multiple running backs will go, whereas only 1 tight end will go. So I think I'm going to have to risk it on the tight end just because the running back that I get after him is a little bit lower down. So going to have to go Kareem Hunt here and risk the pick here. So Juju goes, Darnell Mooney, Drake London, and TJ Hawkinson just before. So no running backs go, interestingly enough. Might have been able to grab Hawkinson and then Kareem Hunt here. But who knows? Maybe Kareem Hunt dangling out there is enough to entice the other teams here. But alas, TJ Hawkinson goes, so that takes tight end off the option for me here. So I now look either running back or quarterback. And we now have 6 quarterbacks off the board. We still have Hurts, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, and Stafford. more than okay with just about all these guys. I imagine you may be looking to grab one of them here coming up. And if I want to take my shot on Hurts, it's probably here or never. I assume Hurts, Prescott, and Wilson probably go before it gets back to me. So it comes down to, do I want to go with a fifth receiver, like I said, like a Michael Thomas, Rashad Bateman, something like that? Do I want to go with a running back in Kenneth Walker, Patterson, getting that fourth back, or do I go with the quarterback there? I think running back is probably more important here, unfortunately. Don't have the luxury of going with another receiver here. And there's just too many running quarterbacks I like available with Hurts, Prescott, Wilson. If I can get one of the three of them, I'll be really happy. But I wouldn't mind settling, which sounds weird to say, for a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Brady, Stafford, or Rodgers beyond that, or even Trey Lance. There's just too many options here in a 10 team. So I'm going to go here and look at the running back position, and it comes down to Patterson, who I mentioned, and then the upside shot of Walker, which I feel a little bit better about with him as my fourth running back than a Cordell Patterson. You have Rashad Penny and Walker in Seattle, or Patterson and I guess like Algier and Damian Williams in Atlanta. It comes down to, I guess, like, do you trust the draft capital? Kenneth Walker, a second round rookie, so they invested a lot in him. You imagine he's going to get some work. And then you have Cordell Patterson, a 31-year-old running back, but not your prototypical 31-year-old running back with 9 years experience, given that he played wide receiver and kick returner most of his career. I think I'll take the upside shot here on Walker, though, just given that I've got 4 running backs already, or 3 running backs. He'll be my 4th. So going to lock in Walker. After him, Gabe Davis, Michael Thomas, and Treylon Burks.
I am interested in doing another homer pick.
So you're going to try to make a trade.
No. I don't want to trade for any of your players. They all suck. I'm looking at Jalen Hurts. But he's another one. With the Philly offense has gone my opinions on Jalen Hurts, who was a prime target for me to start the year because I felt like he was going late. He was the quarterback 1 for a chunk of the year. He can run. I don't know what to do with that offense right now. And then, I look at him and it's like, well, Russ is here. I'm pretty confident Russ is going to be pretty good. Tom Brady's here. I'm confident he's going to be good. Stafford will be fine. Dak will be fine. Given his ADP, I don't know if I really want to take the risk on him. And, I forced one homer pick. I'm not just going to ruin the draft by doing a bunch of them. So he's interesting. But there's other options that I think have similar upside and are safer. I mean, maybe like, Dak, Tom Brady, not Stafford. I guess they don't have the same upside because they don't run as much as Hurts does. But they could still be top guys, and I'm not as worried about them. So we'll take a look at running back. I've put in all the running back spots that I can, and I'm not really Patterson, Pollard, Singletary, Edmonds. Like, nobody's jumping off the board. Penny there's some solid options, but to add a bench spot when I need some wide receivers, I'm not doing it for any of them. We have Adam Thielen, Rashad Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins, Devonta Smith, another interesting option. I would potentially consider him here. Elijah Moore, Hunter Renfrow, Garrett Wilson. So I'm looking at 2 guys, and I think I'm going to roll the dice on someone I haven't rolled the dice on at all this year, but it's tough. So I'm looking at Mike Evans and Mike Williams, both of which are guys that can disappear. Sometimes they have monster games because they have 2 touchdowns, and sometimes it's just 40 yards and nothing. Like, those games happen with both of those. So I feel like we're pairing them with a volume kind of person like an Adam Thielen or Rashad Bateman would make a lot of sense. I think the one I want between the 2 is Adam Thielen. I'm worried about the age thing. I feel like he's going to be okay for another year. Rashad Bateman's probably got bigger upside, but in an offense that doesn't pass the ball around, like the wide receivers has been relevant for Baltimore outside of when Hollywood was scoring all the touchdowns in a while. And maybe that's in the cards for him. So I'll pitch this to you, Will. Does your dad tend to be more conservative or more upside based, or kind of neither? And he just, again, strikes a balance. Do you think there's a lean there?
I'd say probably more look to get the balance. I think it would depend on like the team here. So, you have a need at receiver. Probably, I mean, I guess you're maybe looking at an upside running back if you want that position, but he's already got four. So I'd say the receiver, and I'd say just trying to strike a balance, but it could go either way if you're looking at two different types of receiver.
Then I will say that Mike Williams is my upside shot at wide receiver because that's what many people are projecting for him this year is to have a blow up year. So then I will take the safety of Adam Thielen here. I think he'll be fine this year. So we'll lock him in. DeAndre Hopkins goes off the board. Rashad Bateman, 809. It would have been interesting if he got back to me. Jalen Hurts goes away. Oh, two Eagles. Hurts and Devontae Smith, both the team one there at the turn.
That's a nice little stack.
Yeah, it is. Patterson finally goes 902 and Tony Pollard a 903. So I am back on the clock. We will take a quick little quarterback glance. The team after me does not have a quarterback. You don't have a quarterback. So there's only two. Sleeper will draft your backups. So I don't know when that's going to happen. We got Dak, Russ, Tom Brady, Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Trey Lance, Derek Carr. So I feel like I'm okay waiting another round. The running backs haven't really changed. Singletary, Emmons, Penny, Melvin Gordon, James Cook, not super interesting. Wide receivers, Elijah Moore, Hunter Renfrow, Garrett Wilson, Tyler Lockett, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, Robert Woods. So some interesting options here. There's no one that's really jumping out at me. Elijah Moore, interesting young upside option. Chris Olave, another young, interesting upside option. I'm not sure if he's helped by the news that Michael Thomas is doing good or hurt by that news. You could kind of craft a narrative around either. So I'm kind of stuck. I really don't know what to do. No one is really jumping out at me unless I go further down and I see Allen Lazard. So is this a spot where I say, do I like Allen Lazard more than Elijah Moore? Probably. Hunter Renfrow? Yes. Garrett Wilson? Yes. Lockett? Yes. Olave? Yes. Ayuk? Yes. I'm going to draft Allen Lazard because he's the top running back on my board, I think. I'm glad
he's a running back now.
Oh, shut up, Will. Wide receiver.
Cordell Patterson made the change. I don't think
Lazard's
good yet.
No, I don't think he's got that skill set. But yeah, I think he's my top wide receiver. And that was before the news of Watson being hurt. Like, I've been higher on him this year. And with the Watson injury, I think that pushes him up even more. So I'm just going to draft him. I think it's a good spot for him. I think he pairs well with the team because he should be a solid kind of guy like a Thielen, but presents some upside. Probably similar to Thielen. Thielen's got upside if he scores touchdowns and stuff. Maybe more likely with Lazard. So we'll lock in Lazard, bring my team back to a balance here for running backs, for wide receivers. Still need a quarterback. We'll figure that out. It will not be Russell Wilson. He goes right after me. Elijah Moore and Chase Edmonds goes. You're back on the clock.
Yeah, Russ was the one I was hoping for. I think you and I had both been kind of rising on him. Dak's still good. Brady's still good there. So still more than enough quarterbacks. As you kind of alluded to, not Elijah went, Chase Edmonds went, but not a ton at the other positions. And I've got 4 running backs, 4 receivers, so feeling pretty good there. Maybe look to get another receiver, but there's still some interesting options. And I think I've got to lock the tight end position in here either this round or next round because there's still 2 more teams that don't have one. And I think Goddard does kind of have that step above. I do like Ertz as well, but I've already got Hollywood, so I'd like to differentiate that a bit. And I do think Goddard is a cut above just the athleticism that he has, his youth compared to Ertz. We'll see what the passing game looks like, but at this stage here at the end of the 9th round, more than happy to lock him in as my tight end with 4 running backs and 4 receivers already here. So Singletary goes after that. Melvin Gordon, Hunter Renfrow, Brandon Ayuk, an interesting option here. I think he's probably a good shot to take at this stage of the game. It then comes down to the quarterback, especially with Sleeper taking their backups. It's you and I left. We've got Prescott, we've got Brady, Stafford, Rodgers, Lance, Carr. So it comes down to, being okay with one of those 6, which I think I am. And then, thinking you'll probably take one, do 5 other quarterbacks go before it gets back to me? Probably not. But is it worth
Not to scare
going?
you,
Yeah,
but I had the glancing thought that I could draft Tom Brady with my pick and Trey Lance right after that as a like super high
it could.
upside in a 10 team elite quarterback kind of thing.
Yeah,
And I will remind you that I did do this last year in our league and won a championship.
it
Now,
worked.
it
It
didn't
did.
really work
Not
because
the way you intended. Yeah.
I dropped Trey Lance and then picked him back up later. So,
Yeah.
didn't really work, but I am the madman that will do it and has done it.
Yes. And then that's why I look at Dak, and Dak and Zeke is, basically every Dallas touchdown I will have a piece of for the most part, outside of a Pollard run in. Getting those two, that's probably the idea. If not, I'm assuming I'm probably looking at Rodgers or Trey Lance, which isn't bad either. But I think there's probably more upside with Dak here. Now, if I don't go with him, I'm looking at running back, receiver. Running back, you got Rashad Penny, James Cook, Stevenson. So not a ton there. That screams draft here. The option really comes down to is Dak, or I guess like a Tyler Lockett. Other than that, I'm looking at rookies like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Sky Moore. So interesting options. It really comes down to Tyler Lockett versus Dak Prescott here. And I do have a Seattle receiver or Seattle player there in Ken Walker already. So I think I'd rather double down on a better offense in Dallas and just lock in my quarterback position here, back to back, tight end and quarterback. So I'll take Dak Prescott here. I almost called him Dallas Prescott. I've got Dallas Goddard and then Dak Prescott here this round. After him, Tyler Lockett, Rashad Penny, and Chris Olave.
So, quick note, Will, we do need to move a little bit quicker.
Yes, sir.
So I will make my quick easy. I'm going to draft Tom Brady. He's the guy that I've kind of been targeting as I'm waiting, and I'm scared of this team 3 that drafted Josh Allen super early.
Mm-hmm.
So in a real draft, I'd probably be waiting a little bit longer. But to play the ADP game, and maybe we got some double quarterback drafters out there, I'm going to lock in Tom Brady now. That's easy. Garrett Wilson, Chase Claypool, Russell Gage, and Matt Stafford. There, we got somebody at the 101 or the 1101 drafted Stafford, so I feel a little bit more justified. Dawson Knox, Michael Carter. So let's take a look at these other positions. We got James Cook, Ramondre Stevenson, Ronald Jones, Isaiah Spiller, Damian Pierce, James Robinson at the wide receiver position, Robert Woods, Christian Kirk, Sky Moore, Christian Watson, Kadarius Toney. This is the tier that Alan Lazard was in. So from an ADP standpoint, I might have been able to wait for him. And then, of course, Trey Lance is there. But now that you have a quarterback, it's a little bit less appealing to be stupid. So we'll take a look. It's been a little while since I drafted a running back. So again, James Cook, Stevenson, Ronald Jones, Isaiah Spiller, Damian Pierce, James Robinson, Alexander Mattson, Rashad White, Naeem Hines, Tyler Algier, Henderson, Mack, McKissick, Gainwell. You were kind of in that typical area of I don't like this. But I'm drafting a backup. There are some okay backups here. Cook is fine. Stevens is fine. Ronald Jones is fine. Isaiah Spiller is an interesting upside shot. It's kind of where the list ends for like my first primary backup. Although I got 4, I could easily put my other wide receivers in that flex and call, Miles Sanders my backup or something like that. I think what I'm going to do, and I haven't drafted him in all year, is going to be draft James Cook. I have some time to let him get familiar with the NFL. I don't think he's going to take the job away from Singletary, but I do think Buffalo wants more pass catching. They went after McKissick really hard. They failed to get him, so they went out and they drafted a running back that has good pass catching. So I'm assuming they're going to be plugging that into their playbook, and he's going to be the one in that role. So we'll go ahead and lock in a Mr. James Cook, get myself a 5th running back. Aaron Rodgers goes off the clock. Off the board, not off the clock. Ramondre Stevenson, Zach Ertz, your backup.
All right. So at this stage, I'm looking at just kind of alternating running back and wide receiver. And some guys that I'm looking at here, I've like Robert Woods is the top of the board. He's interesting. Still coming off of ACL right last year. Hopes to be ready for week one. Not a great offense. Traylon Burks looking better here in training camp. I know people were worried early on, but he's been looking better. Um, I think I may take a shot here on one of the Green Bay or Kansas City receivers, and the top guy here is Sky Moore. Healthy going into camp. There's an opportunity for a receiver to step up there. Is it Mecole Hardman? Is it MVS? Is it Sky Moore? I'll take a shot here on a rookie receiver, given that I've got some depth at both running back and receiver already. So we'll lock in Sky Moore first. Trey Lance goes, Pat Fryermuth, Ronald Jones, and Robert Woods back to me here. So still got some interesting options here that I'm watching in my queue. I've got Isaiah Spiller, Dameon Pierce. Kadarius Toney is interesting as well. I know a lot of people are really down on him, but he seems to be playing pretty well at camp, and I think a lot of people are rising on him. Now, there's just not a ton of running back depth, so I don't know that I want to wait too much more to get another one. I have Isaiah Spiller, as we mentioned there. Dameon Pierce, I think, is the guy for me here that could win the job out, and he'd probably be the one that I'd be easiest to cut out of all of these as well. So I'm going to lock in Dameon Pierce. If he's not the guy, he's one that you can move on from, but he's definitely someone that has a big opportunity ahead of him. So we'll go Pierce after him. Christian Kirk, Christian Watson back to back, Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, so this pick's pretty easy. You mentioned him. Like you said, a lot of people are down on him. I'm high on him, being Kadarius Toney. I've drafted him in a lot of leagues. I like pairing him with Lazard because I get the safety of Lazard, the upside of Toney. But I also grabbed Thielen. Thielen and Lazard are my last two wide receivers. So Kadarius Toney, I think, makes sense because I drafted two kind of safer guys. Now I can take a boom upside shot. Like MVS is down here as well. If you wanted to take a shot on Kansas City, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, if you like him over Kadarius Toney, and I can totally see why, given the offense and quarterback differences, that's fine. But I think an upside pick makes sense. I will throw out quickly, there were some Jimmy G to the Giants rumors. I don't know why that makes sense for anyone outside of Jimmy G possibly winning a starting job. I don't know why the Giants would do it, but that's out there. Don't know how that really impacts Toney. I don't think it happens, so I'm just going to go ahead and lock him in. David Carr, Isaiah Spiller, James Robinson round out the 12th to start the 13th. MVS goes, Tua goes, and Alexander Mattison. I am back on the clock here. Running backs, Rachaad White, Nyheim Hines, Tyler Algier, Darrell Henderson, Marlon Mack, J.D. McKissick, Kenneth Gainwell, Khalil Herbert, Gus Edwards, Mark Ingram, Raheem Mostert. That's an interesting one, and he is somebody that busted off a long run here in training camp recently. Not that says anything, but tells me he's healthy. This was like a 60-yard touchdown run, I think. So he should be relatively healthy. Wide receivers, Gallup, Jameson Williams, Tyler Boyd, Jarvis Landry, Rondell Moore, Joanne Dotson, Kenny Galladay, Tim Patrick, Jacoby Myers, George Pickens having some good training camp as well. Not a lot of options I'm loving. I'm going to go ahead and draft Mostert as another depth running back, somebody I could probably cut after week one. Maybe I'll give him 2 weeks, but just get some more depth. Somebody that could earn himself a role. I don't think he can earn himself the starting role. Maybe, but I doubt it. But earn himself a solid role in the offense. We'll go ahead and lock him in there. Michael Gallup goes. Cole Kmet, somebody we both like, and Kirk Cousins.
All right, so back to me here. I'm still looking at the running back and the wide receiver position. And at this point, I'm just kind of scrolling down and favoring some guys that I like. So I'm going to take some guys that are a little further down here. First up here, I'm looking at, let's see, teams behind me. Probably the running back position makes more sense. One team only has 3. One team only has 4, interestingly enough. So if I'm looking at the running back position, it's a little further down, but someone that I think you and I have both been high on is Kenny Gainwell. Offense is probably going to run the ball a lot, and he's a depth piece here for me. So I want to lock in Kenny Gainwell for running back for the Eagles. After him, Rachaad White, Justin Fields, Nyheim Hines, and Marlon Mack. So next I'm looking here to get maybe a little bit safer of a wide receiver. Got Sky Moore as my 5, but he is a little more of an upside guy. So I'm going to look at a guy that you and I had talked a little bit about here recently, and that's Tim Patrick. Just a safe option. Wide receiver 3. We'll see. I guess there's some guys behind him that could push him for the wide receiver 3 there in Denver, but at this stage, he's more than a safe pick. Taking him here in the 14th round. So locking in Tim Patrick next. After him, Tyler Algier, Deshaun Watson, late pick, and Jameson Williams.
Yeah, so this one's pretty easy for me. I saw him earlier. I didn't get down far enough to actually read off his name. But Devontae Parker, he's getting some good reviews out of camp. I've liked him and drafted him a lot. So, I feel bad kind of drafting him again. But, given the camp news, I think that kind of reinforces drafting him. So we'll lock him in, get another wide receiver. Albert O, Darrell Henderson, Tyler Boyd round out the 4th. In the 15th, Hunter Henry, J.D. McKissick, Jarvis Landry, somebody that I thought was kind of interesting. I might have picked if he got to me here. At running back, we got Khalil Herbert, Gus Edwards, Mark Ingram, Tyrone Davis-Pierce, Jamal Williams, wide receiver. Really the same guys that I read off before. I think, I got Mostert often injured, Elijah Mitchell often injured, CMC often injured. I think I'm going to take Mark Ingram. He is a depth piece that I think will be usable in the beginning of the year, when the suspension comes out for Kamara, and just give myself a little bit of a hedge against all the injury risks that I've acquired there at the running back position. I don't love it. Usually I like taking an upside shot, but I think it makes sense. Right now, more Khalil Herbert, Gus Edwards, go. You're up.
Yeah, so a couple of guys that I was looking at, Ingram, one of them there that you took, so that's a solid pick. A guy that's interesting, especially right now in drafts, is Jalen Tolbert. I don't know if you saw James Washington just went down with an injury today. I mean, we'll see,
Hard
if
off, I
he,
believe.
I didn't see that. I heard someone mention that, and I saw the injury. He just kind of was down on a knee, tried to walk off, and then went down again. But I think it was, potentially pretty bad. So Tolbert has a good chance to step in as a wide receiver 2 or 3 there, especially with Gallup coming back a little slower. So I'm going to lock in Tolbert here with one of my last picks. Herb Smith, Tyrion Davis-Price, Jamal Williams, and Brian Robinson all go. So not a ton of running backs left. Darrell Williams is bad for Arizona, especially this late. Wide receivers, Mecole Hardman's not bad. I don't know that I want to take the shot on both Kansas City receivers, but I guess you could just cut one of them. I don't know that I want to hang on to both. So I think the pick here is Darrell Williams for me, getting that running back. I think we both hope running back 2 in Arizona, and it's just a powerful offense. So I'm going to lock him in. Darrell Williams, after him, Chuba Hubbard, Zamir White, and David Njoku.
Yeah, so at the running back position, pretty dry here. Devonta Foreman, Sony Michel, Chris Evans, kind of interesting. Tyler Beatty, also pretty interesting. At the wide receiver, Dotson, Kenny G, Jacoby Myers, George Pickens, really all the same guys. I didn't really notice. No wide receivers really going here. DJ Chark, Mecole Hardman, Alec Pierce, Julio, relevant again. KJ Osborne, Sammy Watkins. I am looking at Tyler Beatty and thinking that's a pretty interesting pick down here with my last pick. But at the same time, I'm looking at Mecole Hardman thinking I could take a shot on a Kansas City wide receiver. But, they brought in a couple guys. Mecole just hasn't shown it. So I think I'll take a shot on Tyler Beatty. Maybe, we have a Dobbins, Gus situation where they're not really starting the year, and Beatty just shows himself off. He's just got to beat Mike Davis, and that shouldn't be hard to do. Baltimore tends to like their veterans, but last pick, it's a fine shot to take there. I know he's your boy. We got him in there. Jacoby Myers, Noah Fant, Deonta Foreman going. So that rounds out the draft. So my team drafting from this 4th spot, I got Tom Brady at running back, McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, Elijah Mitchell, Miles Sanders, James Cook, Mostert, Mark Ingram, and Tyler Beatty. At wide receiver, Mike Evans, Mike Williams, Adam Thielen, Alan Lazard, Kadarius Toney, Devontae Parker, and George Kittle at tight end. I'm pretty happy with it. I like the first 10 picks. I'm pretty happy with all of that. After that, James Cook, kind of interesting. I got a lot of running back shots. I kind of wish I took more wide receiver shots because the running backs are just so hit or miss. But they can provide some good depth. In the case of Beatty, some decent upside. So I am happy with the team. Will, you're in the 8th spot. Want to run down yours?
Yeah, so we've got Dak Prescott at quarterback. We've got Ezekiel Elliott, David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt, Kenneth Walker, Damian Pierce, Kenneth Gainwell, and Darrell Williams at the running back position. Wide receiver, Jamal Williams, Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, DJ Moore, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Sky Moore, Tim Patrick, and Jalen Tolbert. And then Dallas Goedert at tight end. Really happy with the team. I think a lot of that derives from Goddard in the 9th round, Dak Prescott in the 10th round. Really able to build up some really good depth at the other positions here. Running back is a little light. Really banking on Zeke, Montgomery, and Kareem Hunt, but you have the upside shots of Kenneth Walker, Damian Pierce, and then Kenneth Gainwell, probably really the wide receiver, or the running back 4 going into the season, hoping that one of those rookies steps in, and maybe you have an injury hit with Darrell Williams early on in the season, and then just some shots at receiver, but pretty confident in the top 4 that I have there. So overall, really happy with the team.
Awesome. You'll need to relay to your dad, or if he's listening, I do accept cashier's check or money order when you eventually win the league. I think I'll say if you draft 2 or more of my players, I'll take full credit.
2 out of 16. Wow. 12.25%.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We will see. Well, perfect. That's going to wrap up this mock draft. Until next week, folks. Trust your board.